This is English for Real People, a journey into clear, authentic English, explained slowly, calmly, and with purpose, where every episode brings you closer to understanding the language in its natural form. Welcome.
James, do you understand English but feel nervous when you're at the supermarket?
All the time. I know the words, but when someone speaks to me, I freeze.
Exactly. And then you think, why is this so hard?
But here's the truth. It's not you.
The problem is not your English. It's that no one teaches you the real phrases people use.
So in this video, we'll show you real English used in a supermarket.
Simple phrases, natural phrases.
So next time you go shopping, you'll feel more confident.
Remember, it's not you.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually when we talk about learning a new language, there's this, expectation of predictability.
Right.
You memorize the vocabulary, you study the grammar rules, and you basically feel like you've memorized a map of a city.
Yeah, like you know exactly where all the verbs and nouns intersect.
Exactly. But then you step into the real world, say, a busy supermarket checkout line. The cashier fires off a rapid question, the barcode scanner is beeping, the line behind you is sighing, and suddenly a perfectly memorized map is totally useless. You just freeze.
Oh, yeah. It is the absolute definition of fluency panic.
Right.
Under that kind of real-world social pressure, your brain's language center basically just shuts down.
Which is exactly why today we're taking a deep dive into something called neuro-English.
Yeah.
I want to figure out how to bypass that panic.
And we've got a great stack of sources for this.
We do. We're looking at some practical English phrase books and cognitive science research. The goal here is to arm you with the everyday English phrases you need for real-world shopping.
Yeah, specifically navigating supermarkets and sounding completely natural when interacting with cashiers.
Right, and we'll break down the brain hacking techniques that ensure you never actually forget them.
Because, knowing a phrase is completely useless if you can't access it when you need it. To bypass that panic, we have to look at these phrases as functional tools, not just a vocabulary list.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, some phrases are just for low-pressure information gathering, like finding the store. You can ask, where can I find a supermarket?
Right.
Or you check the hours with, what time does it open? Or, what time does it close?
Those are pretty low stakes, though. You can practice those just walking down the street. The real cognitive load hits when you're forced into an active, unpredictable dialogue.
Like when an employee approaches you in the aisle.
Yes, exactly. To see if you need help.
That's where you need what we can think of as a cognitive shield. A phrase like, I'm just looking.
Oh, that's good.
It's polite, it's totally natural, and it immediately diffuses the pressure to maintain a complex conversation. You preserve your mental bandwidth.
And then when you actually decide to buy something,
A simple, I'll take it, is all you need to move forward.
that works perfectly for browsing, but the checkout register is a totally different beast. That is a rapid-fire transaction.
It is the highest pressure point of the entire shopping experience.
It really is. You have to ask, how much does it cost? Followed by, can I pay by credit card? And then wrap it up naturally with, can I get a receipt?
Or, if you're paying cash, just keep the change.
Okay, but let's be real about this. Having a list of phrases is great. But when I'm actually standing at the checkout line with a line of impatient people behind me, my mind usually just goes blank.
Oh, totally.
So how do we actually retrieve these phrases naturally without sounding like a robotic audio textbook?
Well, what's fascinating here is that traditional memorization completely fails us in these moments.
Why is that?
Because it treats the brain like a hard drive instead of a connection machine. The sources highlight the active context method and something called neuromapping to solve this.
Okay, neuromapping, what does that actually look like?
To sound natural, you don't just translate words. You visualize the exact real-world scenario. Think of rote memorization like building a single, fragile bridge to a word. If panic sets in, that bridge burns.
And they're stuck.
Exactly. Neuromapping, on the other hand, builds a massive web of sensory and physical bridges. So you picture yourself literally handing over your credit card while saying, can I pay by credit card?
Oh, wow. It sounds almost like an actor learning lines by moving around a stage and, interacting with props.
That is a perfect analogy. They don't just sit in a dark room staring at a script.
The movement anchors the memory.
Yes. By actually feeling the imaginary plastic of the card in your hand, hearing the beep of the scanner, and then speaking the phrase out loud, you're engaging your spatial memory.
You're creating an active context.
Right. If the verbal pathway fails under pressure, your physical memory triggers the phrase.
That makes total sense. But what about sounding natural? When you're trying to recall a phrase physically, is there a risk of sounding a bit robotic, like you're pausing to access a file in your brain?
Yeah, that can happen. But to iron out that robotic delivery, the sources detail a really cool recording technique.
Oh.
To perfect your rhythm and intonation with cashiers, you record your own voice saying these phrases. Then you compare it directly to a native audio tool.
Okay, so you're listening for the differences.
Right. And then you use spaced repetition, slowly increasing the intervals of time between your practice sessions. It forces your physical articulators to internalize the rhythm until it's just effortless.
So mastering supermarket English isn't some academic exercise or a baneful grammar test. It's really about anchoring a few specific practical phrases to visual and physical actions, right?
Yeah.
So they flow naturally when you're at the register.
Exactly. You're turning language from abstract data into a lived physical experience.
Which brings up a really fascinating thought to leave you with today. The sources suggest our brains learn best through that kind of daily immersion. So the next time you're out buying groceries, even if you're operating entirely in your native language, what if you secretly narrated the entire checkout interaction in English in your head?
Oh, I love that idea.
Right. Could your mundane weekly grocery run actually be your ultimate stress-free language lab? Keep that in mind the next time you're standing in line.